Week 10 did not disappoint. Best week so far in the NFL. It was one ridiculously good game after another. First take on a Monday. Good day, everybody. Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, Donovan McNabb. Always good to have you in the house. Oh, boy. You got a tood. You have a serious tood. He wouldn't smile all morning. I was in the makeup room like, Stephen A., could you please at least smile? Got the side eye.
Can I tell you something? The only thing that made last night's Cowboy win bearable for me is the knowledge that he was suffering worse than I was.
Oh, he's still suffering.
That actually made it better for me.
Love you, buddy. All right, let's get into it. Coming up, how about them Cowboys? Conor McGregor puts on a show at MSG on Saturday. So can the UFC survive without their Irish star? And Tony Romo expected to be Dak Prescott's backup next week. But is it somewhere other than Dallas where Tony will be sooner than later? But we start at Heinz Field, where Cowboys Steelers certainly lived up to the hype. 6 two-point tries went unsuccessful. 7 lead changes. Cowboys aided through a face mask to Jason Witten, and with 9 seconds left, Zeke, the difference maker, 32-yard burst up the middle, and Dallas goes on to win 8 straight for the first time since 1977. That year, gentlemen, they won the Super Bowl. Stephen A., are the Cowboys lucky or are they good?
They lucky as hell. They lucky as hell. Look. Let me tell y'all something right now, man. I'm so disgusted today. The Dallas Cowboys are lucky because they ended up going up against a Steelers defense that is non-existent. They showed up against a Steelers defense that flat out stinks. They are sorry, and I can't stand them right. I cannot believe how awful the Steelers defense was yesterday. Let me tell you something right now. First of all, the touchdown that you gave up, the 14-yard touchdown run to Ezekiel Elliott with under 2 minutes left, that was bad enough because it looked like you were going in intentionally because the defense was nowhere to be found. But then the 32-yard run, I mean, my God, it was a hole as wide as Broadway on a Sunday morning when everybody's partying Saturday night and they're going, and so you walk on Broadway, Max, and there's nobody there. I know it from my years doing sports reporters when it was in New York City. I know how empty Broadway is on a Sunday morning at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That's how wide that hole was for Ezekiel Elliott last night. It was absolutely disgraceful. Three first downs by Dak Prescott. 50-yard bomb from Zach to Des Bryant. Artie Burns, why the hell are you there? His name is Burns. It was appropriate because he got burned, okay? Don't get Shazier is supposed to be one of your fastest defenders. Ezekiel Elliott just smoked him. He's nowhere to be found. And, oh, by the way, you had a defense that didn't look like they wanted to tackle as the game waned. They were getting pushed around. They were getting punked. They're not existent. I've been telling Mike Tomlin for years, the secondary stinks, and certainly that's what happened. The linebackers ain't that much damn better. And by the way, coming into the game, you only had 11 sacks, which was tied with 2 other teams for last in the NFL. I am so disgusted with this Steelers. Mike Tomlin and Colvin and those boys, they got to do something. They just got to do something. I mean, the steel curtain, the Steelers have been synonymous with greatness on the defensive end of on the defensive side of the ball. You know this, Donovan McNabb, but somehow, someway, if Donovan probably sat up there. How long you been retired, bro? How long have you been retired?
This is 6 seasons.
It's 6 seasons, right? How much you want to make a bet Donovan McNabb was watching the game yesterday, or Donovan went like this? Damn, I could throw on this game. I guarantee you he was thinking like that.
Depends on who I'm throwing to.
There we go. You see what I'm saying? So we got a situation where the Steelers just defensively flat out stink. Wasted a 400-yard performance by Big Ben Roethlisberger, a decent performance by Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, decent performance. I just can't believe Dallas is lucky because they showed up against a team that can't play defense. Well, steel curtain with no curtains.
Have they been doing that all year? First of all, the reason you're out on Broadway at 5 or 6 in the morning, the sports reporters think is a likely story. You sound like you're coming out of Nathan Detroit's floating crap game or something. No, 5 in the morning on a Sunday on Broadway at 5 in the morning.
I was just listening. I just rolled with it.
It's the truth.
So the Cowboys, are they lucky or are they good? So the Steelers played bad defense last night, and
answer the question, man.
We talked about Mike Tomlin saying, and I always talk about, I loved him from that first press conference, Steelers football, run the ball, stop the run. Who's this Mike Tomlin? Oh, that's Mike Tomlin. Love it. And they didn't do that. But that's because the Cowboys are good. Is every team that the Cowboys played, are they all bad defensively? Because their point differential on the year, and we know their defense is not their calling card, is plus 88. Does anyone know where that ranks in the NFL right now? 1. 10 points better than the Patriots. It kills me to say because I hate the Cowboys. It's like poison in my mouth. But they're not just good, they're really good. Yeah. I thought what you were going to talk about, Stephen A., was the Witten face mask that gave him 15 yards and there wasn't a lot of time left, and maybe that's why they go to the running play, because otherwise they're not even in field goal range. But even then, they might still win that game because they'd already hit a 53-yard field goal, the Cowboys, right?
Bailey is pretty good.
Hit a 53-yard field goal. I know Pittsburgh's tough to kick in, but say 50-yard line is the field goal where you start to feel good about it. So they only really needed to pick up. They were on the 47, minus 18. They needed to pick up about 15 yards, which they could have done with a run. They still had a timeout. So even if you take away the face mask, which was fortunate for Dallas because forward progress had been stopped with Witten, even then, there's a good chance they go on to win this game. And you know, luck is the residue of design. They're good. That's why they're in a position to get lucky. I hate to admit it, Cowboys Nation, but your boys can play.
Well, the whole thing about it, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, their secondary, to me, was pretty good when they had back in with Ike Taylor, when he was healthy and he was running as one of the top corners. But at this particular point, we have to give credit to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys offense is securing the line of scrimmage. They're able to run the football with Ezekiel Elliott. And then now their quarterback is not turning the football over. He's efficient on third down. He's moving the ball downfield. Everybody knows that Jason Witten is getting the ball, and you still can't cover Jason Witten. Cole Beasley is his #1 wide receiver. You still can't cover him. Why? Because you have to focus in the backfield on what Ezekiel Elliott has been able to do. Now the guy that deserves a lot of the credit is Scott Linehan. Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, is the guy that's been dialing up all of these plays that makes his quarterback comfortable. This isn't the same offense that we've seen with Tony Romo and the Dez Bryant effect and DeMarco Murray going into Green Bay and losing on a call that everybody is still arguing about. This is a balanced offense that allows their quarterback to sit in the pocket, diagnose the defense, and be able to be effective in the passing game. This is something that's balanced. And it's not about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're supposed to pass for 400 yards on a depleted secondary. Claiborne's out. Carr's moving around. Scandrick gets hurt. They bring McFadden off a practice squad. You also had Church hurt. Now you got Wilcox back there in the back doing something he's not used to doing.
Defensively anyway. They're not world beaters.
But my thing is, that's what I'm talking about. You're supposed to pass for over 300 yards with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. You got Green stepping up. You got guys coming out of nowhere catching passes for Ben Roethlisberger. Give credit to their offensive line. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I've had this argument over the last couple of weeks, I didn't think that they were a top 3, top 4 team in the NFL. I thought that they were the #2 ranked team behind Seattle because I think at some point they're going to hit the wall. And I think their defense is going to struggle. But at this point, offensively, they're the #2 ranked team to me.
Well, I appreciate this love fest for the Dallas Cowboys.
You know I don't like Dallas, but I give credit when credit is due.
I don't know about you right now, Donovan. I don't know about you right now. I'm very upset. I'm very emotional. I admit it, damn it. This is how I feel, but I'm going to back it up.
I can see that vein popping out of your forehead.
That's right. The hairline is back. I'm good. You can see it even more visible. I don't care.
Calm down. The hairline.
Don't tell me to calm down right now, Max Kellerman. You sit back. You sit back. Don't tell me to calm down right now. Don't you dare tell me to calm down right now. Let me go to this. We talking about the defense, right?
Right.
Talking about the Steelers, right? All right, they ranked 28th against the pass and all of this other stuff. All right, that's fine. We want to sit up there and rave about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's look at the defenses that they played against Donovan McNabb. Giants. Yeah, thank you.
I'm not saying they're
trust me, I promise you, nobody's going to step out and say, oh, their defense is elite. Other than the Philadelphia Eagles, who were playing good defense up until they ran into
until they got exposed in that game.
They're not necessarily that much, though. I mean, 29-23, you know what I'm saying? Certain breaks happen, turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that the Eagles, they messed up in some occasions. They played well in some occasions.
They handed them the game.
But wait a minute, though. Just look at this. These are the Dallas Cowboys opponents this year. Giants. Redskins, game 2 of the season.
Right.
All right. Chicago Bears. Really? Okay. San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
Okay. Cincinnati Bengals, haphazard as they are. Come on now.
They've been bad on defense, too.
Dysfunctional, and Vontaze Burfict had just come back. Come on now. All right. Green Bay Packers. Really? Okay. Of course, Philly. And then the Cleveland Browns before the Steelers. Let's not act like the Dallas Cowboys rolled up against Seattle or somebody. By the way,
but you named Philadelphia like that's a typical NFL schedule. 1 or 2 good ones.
I'm not talking about Philadelphia. I said eliminate Philadelphia. The other 7 points. Don't you get me started. Don't act like you don't know what I'm saying. Now, here's the deal. 4-game losing streak for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've allowed 4 touchdowns of 50 yards or more in the last 4 games. I mean, these are the Steelers. I mean, what? Mean Joe Green, his heart is aching. I mean, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blunt, I'm going way back, ain't I? I mean, are you kidding me?
We're living in the past right now.
Excuse me.
None of those defensive players are showing up on the Great Space Coasters.
All I'm saying is this. I'm going to say this. I don't like the way Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben Roethlisberger come out speaking what they have spoken, because that's taking shots at Mike Tomlin without even recognizing that, which is something we will revisit later on this week.
Yep.
But the Steelers' defense is non-existent. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed.
We're going to get into it now. We have plenty more on America's team coming up in the show, but we want you at home to get involved. Go on Twitter now. Vote in our poll question today. Should Ezekiel Elliott be the NFL MVP right now? We'll give you those results a little later in the show. Let's get to the other side of the matchup. Keep that vein going on Stephen A's face. Ben Roethlisberger did not mince words after the Steelers' 4th straight loss. Here he is.
I didn't think leadership was an issue. You know, we just got to make plays and, you know, and like I said, be accountable and be disciplined.
And you said accountable a couple of times. How do you get to that point?
I don't know. Is it players? Is it coaches? I don't know. But we need to get there quick.
Ooh, trouble in paradise. Ben calling out everyone, maybe even his own coach. But how responsible is Mike Tomlin for the Steelers' struggles this season? Mr. Smith.
He shares culpability. We all know that you can't find a bigger fan of Mike Tomlin than me, because I think he's a leader of men. And that's incredibly important to me. Guys getting motivated, guys being focused, guys understanding what their responsibilities are, etc. You've got former coordinators that become head coaches, and they know football in and out in terms of X's and O's, but don't know how to lead men.
Right.
I believe that Mike Tomlin is a born leader. Having said all of that, you can't draft as many picks as they've drafted on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's Jarvis Jones and Shazier or, you know, whomever else that you may have out there, the Artie Burns of the world and others, and have a defense that continuously and religiously have suffered to this point. So does he share culpability? Yes, but he shares it with the GM, and he shares it with the defensive coordinator, because the combination of those 3 individuals are supposed to have this ship steered in the right direction, not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of production. Where Mike Tomlin is elevating him or is being, whether it's elevated or diminished to the hot seat, is when you've got a Le'Veon Bell weeks ago saying the same mistakes we make during the game are the same mistakes we make in practice. Where you've got Big Ben Roethlisberger, a future Hall of Famer and a 2-time Super Bowl champion, who is saying similar things. That does not make things look good. And I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to go here. Even though the NFL, that is not the same problem that exists in college football. When you have African-American coaches that are put in those positions, and there are questions about what you're doing as it pertains to discipline and it pertains to focus. As a reporter for 20-plus years covering sports, it is my history, in terms of what I know to be true, that when those kind of questions are presented about a black coach, that is never a good thing. I think that it's time to get a little bit concerned about Mike Tomlin, because when words like that, it shouldn't be because he's a Super Bowl champion and went to 2 Super Bowls. But it shouldn't be. I want to be clear about that. It should not be. But when those quotes are being made by players, that is never a good thing.
Look. Mike Tomlin, in 6 of 9 seasons, has at least 10 wins. Now think about the NFL for a second. What's the top team been throughout the Tomlin era and even going back further? The Patriots.
Yeah.
The Patriots always have a winning record, and almost always, whenever Brady's healthy, are in the playoffs, right? And usually, if Brady has anything on offense, they're making a Super Bowl run. That's the top team. No team's going to look good in comparison to that. You know what the Steelers are? They're right under that in the Mike Tomlin era. A bad season for most NFL teams, 5-11, right? 6-10, you like to do better. A bad season for Mike Tomlin is 8-8. When he goes 8-8, as he did in consecutive years, what happened to the Steelers? You know what he did last year? He started 5-4. He went 10-6. And by the way, right now they're 4-5 because they just barely lost, according to you, unluckily, to an 8-1 team. Go back in time and look at, so 10-6, 11-5 before that. Then he had those couple of 8-8 seasons, 12-4, 12-4. You know how many teams in the NFL are praying that they can get a coach like Mike Tomlin, that when his team, and they're still in the thick of things in their division. This is panic time because, oh, heaven forbid, the Steelers might have a 500 record one year. Tomlin is an absolute elite coach, and it is absurd to question him compared to his peers. You want to say Belichick, you maybe want to say Pete Carroll, a couple others. That's it. He's in that category.
Well, it's not just African-American coaches, also quarterbacks and everybody in predominant positions. Yes. When things like that are leaked out, it's a bad thing. African-Americans.
That's right.
But as far as Mike Tomlin is concerned, let's take into account that your quarterback hasn't been healthy for a full season. Mm-hmm. And let's go back to 2009. Before 2009, the consistency of Ben Roethlisberger, they go as far as Ben takes them. So at this particular point, when I listen to the quotes from Ben Roethlisberger, it's not about Mike Tomlin. It's about individuals being accountable for their mistakes. Offensively, they know the mistakes that they've made. Le'Veon Bell talked about it in the beginning of the season. We are making the same mistakes that we make in practice. That's on the offensive end. But what Ben is talking about as a unit, as a team, being the leader of a team, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, did I do my job? Defensively, we just talked about it. No, they did not do their job. Defensive linemen are not in their gaps. Linebackers are not overflowing into the position to be able to make the tackles. You see them outrunning plays. That's why you're getting big plays. Defensive backs are not in the right position.
Let me get this straight. They're not doing their job, and as a result, you lose by the skin of your teeth, aided by a face mask when the play is dead,
yes,
to an 8-1 team that has the best point differential in the league.
Mike Tomlin's not the one out there grabbing face masks. Mike Tomlin is not the one missing tackles. They're in the right position to be successful.
What I'm saying.
These players are not making the plays they're made to be made.
What I'm saying. I guess everyone thinks they're pretty damn good if this is like disaster.
But this is the whole thing. If a coach has been there for as long as Mike Tomlin or in Green Bay, what we're seeing in Green Bay, it begins to get stale. It begins to get stale because defensively they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And offensively, yeah, you had a great game. But what happened last week in Baltimore? Offensively, they looked awful. They didn't run the ball.
I need to chime in here because here's my discomfort for especially what you said. Nobody's saying that Mike Tomlin should be gone.
Right.
What we're saying is that's what folks who may want to get at him might take from everything that's transpiring.
They'll use
it.
Because the undisciplined.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, let's also point this out, Max. From 1998, whether it was at Arkansas State or the University of Cincinnati where he was coaching defensive backs, to being in the NFL in 2006 as the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. What do we usually say? What do I religiously say? Whatever your signature is, whatever got you the job is what you have to make sure that you do. New Orleans, Sean Payton is relatively safe. You know why? He has an offensive background. Their offense is firepower. It's defense that's a problem, but that ain't his signature. Mike Tomlin was defense. But in 2014, 2 years ago, their defense against the pass ranked 27th. Last year, it ranked 30th. This year, it's ranking 27th. You can't ignore what's transpiring. To me, I love Mike T. He could be my head coach any day of the week. He can't go, oh, he's a born leader, man. He's the real deal. But the flip side is that when you're perceived as having say, and you're picking this personnel, and this personnel, which you're loaded with because you got 6, 7 starters that are drafted,
I want to address that.
And they're not getting it done, ultimately somebody's going to come and look at you. Right now in Pittsburgh, I was just in Pittsburgh last week, remember? These guys are holding Mike Tomlin accountable.
I want to address that real quick. If someone has ulterior motives for going at a coach for race or any other reason, shame on them.
No, I'm not saying that.
Nor does that mean that race should be a shield and anyone's above criticism, even if they're a great coach. Just in my analysis, if you think Tomlin's not a great coach, you're not thinking about things very clearly. That's one. Two, to your point about you better be strong where you're calling on your calling card, right? If it's defense, be good defensively. To my way of thinking, it's more impressive that a guy who comes in on the merits of his defense looks at what he has and goes, okay, this is how we're going to be able to win games.
But you played a part in picking what you have.
Yeah, when you're responsible for going to get the groceries, you have to at least be able to.
That's right.
And he's cooking up a 10-6 record last year, for example.
But that was last year when they got hot toward the end. There's no reason we see them getting hot toward the end. Now, I say they will be a sleeper and get in a wild card.
It's just they came with a hair.
You can't go off and just almost beat Dallas. You didn't win.
Background to be ranked 27th or worse against the pass. You can't do it, Matt.
The Broncos went from all offense, no defense to all defense, no offense. Went to 2 Super Bowls within 3 years.
Yeah, that's another team. This isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They're known for their offense.
And oh, by the way, Max, Mike Tomlin has a Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl berth. But just last week, we were talking about Mike McCarthy and how the Green Bay goes to the playoffs every year, but only one title because Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. He's got Big Ben.
We got to go to break. This game had 7 lead changes. This next one had 8. Russell Wilson getting the better of Tom Brady at Foxborough last night. But which of the 2 would you want the rest of the season? You might be surprised by this one. Donovan, you are staying put, my friend. And the Cowboys star running back goes bananas in Pittsburgh Sunday, causing King James to tweet Zeke with a hashtag MVP and Rookie of the Year. I forgot he's a Cowboys fan.
Go play basketball.
Elliott be the MVP favorite right now? Find out that a little bit later in the show. First take, just getting started.
How come he ain't commenting about the Browns?
For the Indians.